I am Ned Burry, and I've rented out the studio on Haunted Hill tonight for Jason, who wants to have a viewing of House on Haunted Hill. A haunted viewing of House on Haunted Hill. He's so amusing. There'll be food, drink, gimmicks under the guise of horror, maybe a few murders. You're all invited, of course. Ah, and here come all the other guests. I bet you're all wondering why I brought you here tonight.
I really don't understand why you kidnapped us.
Kidnapping is just another word for special invitation.
You know, I was on my way to go to dinner with my family.
Oh, geez, God, no wonder why you were only in silent movies.
I really don't appreciate the fact that you brought us here for this rather undesirable occasion. I agree with Negan. How dare you kidnap us?
Look, guys. This wasn't even my idea. This was Jason's idea. He wanted to have this party in the first place. We can point fingers all night long if we want, but the point is, you guys are here until the viewing of House on Haunted Hill is all over. And until it's over, the doors, the windows will be barred and locked, so there's no way of leaving. But once the movie's over, you're all free to leave. And you will be leaving with a very special prize.
What kind of prize are you giving us then?
Well, the best kind of prize is a surprise.
Loser.
And if you guys are worried about the studio being haunted or whatever, like it supposedly is, you guys are some of the scariest monsters in horror. In your case, Negan, you know, people in horror. I'm sure you guys can take on a few ghosts.
I really don't think I belong here.
No one's talking to you, Kaylee.
Rude.
Anyways, why wouldn't you guys want to be here? House on the Haunted Hill is one of the most classic horror movies of all time.
House on Haunted Hill came out in 1959 and is known as one of the best haunted house movies of basically classic horror cinema. It's a mixture of a whodunit and at the same time, being a little bit of a suspenseful, scary story. The movie was directed by William Castle, and Castle was kind of known as basically the gimmicky poor man's version of Alfred Hitchcock. He always loved instilling twists into his movie, very similarly to Alfred Hitchcock, but he never achieved the amount of fame, mainly because of the quality in his movies compared to Alfred Hitchcock. The other thing about William Castle is his movies were incredibly gimmicky. He directed such movies such as The Tingler, and in that movie, very similarly to kind of this movie, he likes to try and get a reaction from the audience. With movies such as The Tingler, he would put basically buzzers in the seats, and he would have someone in the movie basically like telling the audience, "Scream before the Tingler kills you," or, something like that. And he did this with a lot of his movies, as he always tried to be incredibly gimmicky, while at the same time trying to put out a good quality movie. Unfortunately, the public saw them as gimmicks, and they didn't see them as, much more than that, compared to what Alfred Hitchcock was doing with, making actual artistic movies. This is not putting William Castle down by any means. I love a lot of his movies, and some of them can actually have really good twists, have a lot of good suspense, and he can be a very good storyteller. It's just that most of the time his movies really focus on the actual genre of horror compared to Hitchcock, who mainly focused on thrillers, besides Psycho, which kind of was a horror movie. There aren't really many gimmicks in House on Haunted Hill, except for maybe a few, fourth wall breaking, but other than that, it's actually a pretty good, solid haunted house movie. So, are you guys ready to watch House on Haunted Hill? Well, it's a shame, we're watching it anyway. This is House on Haunted Hill. The movie starts with a black screen. I'm already in suspense. And eventually we start hearing screams from the television. This does eventually lead to some spooky ghost noises and chains moving around. Another good, really old-fashioned spooky stuff. We are then introduced to the head of Watson Pritchard, who basically, this is one of the instances of, fourth wall breaking, where the character is talking directly to the audience.
The ghosts are moving tonight, restless, hungry. In just a minute, I'll show you the only really haunted house in the world.
And he warns us of the things that could happen at the house on Haunted Hill. This does really start to show the gimmicky side of the movie, but it's still something that I thoroughly enjoy for a good old-fashioned spooky movie. I kind of put it up there with the intro to Frankenstein with Edward Van Sloan, where he basically introduces the movie and he says, this is a very scary thing and you guys better be prepared for it. Except for the difference is basically Pritchard's character, he very much, he's actually a character in the movie compared to Edward Van Sloan, who just introduces the movie. We are finally introduced to the house on Haunted Hill, along to Frederick Lauren, played by Vincent Price. Swoon. Vincent Price just oozes class in this movie.
I'm Frederick Lauren, and I've rented the house on Haunted Hill tonight so that my wife can give a party. A haunted house party. She's so amusing.
Every single thing that he says is very sarcastic, backstabbing, biting, and all that, but he comes off as classy with literally every sentence that he says. Frederick Lauren also introduces us to the plot of the movie, and in a manner of speaking, he's not talking to us, the audience, although it does look like he's talking to us, the audience. This is actually a moment where he's basically kind of narrating a letter that he wrote to a bunch of people who are in desperate need of money, but in a manner of speaking, it's also almost like he wrote the letter to us, the audience, as well, where we are also invited to the house on Haunted Hill.
You're all invited.
We then see the other visitors, where he introduces them all one by one and basically gives off the reasons why they are in need of money. They all enter the house, and already things seem to be a little bit uneasy.
Who closed the door?
This is actually a pretty excellent start to the movie. You might be thinking, oh, it's just a chandelier falling down. What's so special about that? One of the great things about this movie is the fact that you legitimately don't really know throughout most of the movie if the house is haunted or not, or whether or not Frederick Lauren actually did basically plan out all of the spooky things in the house just to drive some of the people mad, or whether or not he's trying to get all these people in on his scheme, which, as we find out, he has some major wife issues.
Of all my wives, you're the least agreeable.
But still alive.
Make a good headline. Playboy kills wife with champagne cork. You remember the fun we had when you poisoned me?
Something you ate, the doctor said.
We then meet his wife, Annabelle Lauren, played by Carol O'Mart. who basically hates him as much as he hates her. It definitely seems that she was actually not the planner of this party, and that he's definitely the one who is perpetrating this whole event. We can't really trust Vincent Price, but at the same time, it seems that you can almost not even really trust her as well. One of the things I really love about this movie is the dark humor and the conversations between these two characters in particular. They're always backstabbing or, saying just very nasty and being incredibly sarcastic. Now, I have to say, one of the problems with this movie is these are really the only two compelling characters. It's not that any of the other actors are bad, it's mainly just the fact that the characters themselves are not really that interesting, as we've already basically heard everything that they want and need, aside from maybe one character, but I'm not going to spoil that just yet. It's these two who we're really focused on. It's these two who are the main characters, and this is their story. Everyone else is simply just an audience member in this house of madness. Eventually, Frederick does join the guests and introduces himself, as well as the rules to them being able to win the money.
The caretakers will leave at midnight, locking us in here until they come back in the morning. Once the door is locked, there's no way out. The windows have bars that a jail would be proud of, and the only door to the outside locks like a vault. There's no electricity, no phone, no one within miles, so no way to call for help. So if any of you decide not to stay for the party, you must let me know before midnight. Of course, if you leave, I shan't be able to pay you anything.
I'm interested in your reasons for this, party.
I think everyone wonders what they would do if they saw a ghost.
One of the characters, who we were already introduced to, Pritchard, basically is the caretaker of the house, and he once had relatives who lived in the house, and he is basically the guide showing where all the weird, nasty, spooky things happened.
Richard, why don't you take us on a tour through the house and let's see what happens, huh?
See that stain? Blood. A young girl was killed here. And whatever got her wasn't human.
Mr. Norton did a good deal of experimenting with wines. But his wife didn't think it was any good.
So he filled the vat with acid and threw her in. But none of the murders here were just ordinary. Just shooting or stabbing. They've all been sort of wild, violent, and different. Look out! God, she didn't fall in.
Now, the one character who is a little bit annoying, but it's kind of understandable that she is the way she is Nora. Basically, her thing is just to be there and scream and be scared. She's basically supposed to be driven insane by the happenings in the house or by the schemes of the Laurens. She accidentally loses sight of the handsome character, that's basically his stereotype, where she tries to find him and then this happens. Okay, that's just hilarious. Now, the thing about this movie is, okay, it's not scary. Maybe once upon a time this movie was scary, but honestly, the scares haven't really aged well. He gets knocked out unconscious. Now, Mr. Hunk and Nora explore the house a little bit, but as always, something bad happens. This was scary. It's literally an old lady just going, "Eh," and then just like floating right along. It's just like, okay, what the hell is she? Is she on a Segway or something?
Creepy old lady riding on a Segway. Creepy old lady riding on a Segway. Creepy old lady riding on a Segway. Bam, 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 bam.
Eventually, Annabelle does actually wind up visiting Mr. Hunk. That's going to be his name, guys. And basically kind of tries to low-key convince him that Frederick is out to kill her.
You know, of course, that I'm his fourth wife. The first simply disappeared. The other two died. Lance, I don't want to join them.
Oh geez, I wonder if anyone else is getting this idea. Annabelle does join the party after being incredibly forced by her husband, and she's basically of the same mind as everyone else. You know, just give them the money and go. Why do they have to stay there the whole night? But Frederick is very dedicated to this whole thing, and they are not leaving the house. Everybody, accidentally, gets locked in the house, which of course doesn't really make the guests very happy. So, on Frederick's good faith, he gives them all weapons. Now, here's the thing, with all these things going on, especially with what Annabelle is saying, it's kind of clear we can't trust Frederick. And honestly, one of the big reasons is we don't really know what his intentions are. Nora claims that Frederick is trying to kill her.
Who wants to kill you?
Mr. Lawrence.
But why? The intentions are not really explained at all at the beginning on who necessarily wants what. It is quite obvious we cannot trust Frederick, and heck, we can't even really trust Annabelle, as she's pretty darn suspicious as well. But the thing is that we don't really know what these two are up to. Is Annabelle trying to kill Frederick? Is Frederick trying to kill, Annabelle? Is Frederick just, literally an insane person and trying to kill all the people he invited? Is there maybe a deeper reason as to why he didn't invite all of these people over? There's a lot of mystery to this movie, and although it is technically a horror movie, this movie works incredibly well, almost like a whodunit. Oh yes, I still have to give you guys your party favors, don't I?
I'm not really the biggest fan of guns.
Can I just beat you with my bare hands? I'm rather comfortable with what I got.
What's this? Where do I get this useless thing? Rather, I get nothing.
Well, I guess you guys will just have to see what happens when we get to the end of the movie. If you survive by the end of the movie, anyways. Speaking of whodunit, unfortunately, the wife isn't going to live long enough to really see the ending of this movie.
She's dead, Mr. Lawrence. Your wife hanged herself.
At least we think. Now, Frederick does start trying to point the finger at everyone else, but of course, everyone basically knows that he's most likely the killer. It's all a matter of where's the evidence, as there isn't really any, except for the fact that clearly they hated each other. They all go their separate ways, again, and basically all swear to stay in their rooms until it is morning. That way, the caretakers come back, they call the police, yada yada. Now, of course, nobody actually stays in their rooms because, God forbid, anybody actually does do the common sense thing and stay in their rooms. Nora leaves after being scared out of the living bejeebas from, I'm guessing, the ghost of Annabelle? As it turns out, big shocker, Annabelle isn't actually dead, and one of the guests was actually brought there on purpose by her, as he is actually a potential love interest for her, and an accomplice in trying to kill Frederick. Annabelle's plan is to basically drive Nora to the point of madness, so that way she accidentally runs into Frederick, who already nobody trusts, and, potentially kill him with one of the guns that was given at the beginning. And lo and behold, this does happen.
No!
The doctor eventually does show up and does try to basically dispose of the body of Frederick by putting him in the vat of acid that was introduced earlier in the movie. Annabelle eventually shows up where all the doors wind up locked. At least we assume they got locked. I mean, it'd be kind of silly if she just couldn't open a door. Where then a skeleton comes out of the vat of acid.
At last you've got it all. Everything I have, even my life. But you're not going to live to enjoy it. Come with me, murderess. Come with me.
Okay. I love this moment. It's pure and utter silliness, but I love it, really. It's not scary, but it's true, utter, spooky fun. The skeleton walking towards her. Apparently, the skeleton is supposed to be Frederick, but dead. His spirit is now taking over the body and is now basically vowing to kill her as well. It's all great spookiness. Of course, she does wind up getting killed, and oh my paws and whiskers, Frederick's alive! As it turns out, he's not actually dead, and he did actually have his own backup plan to whatever Annabelle was planning. Although, I think it's a little bit elaborate, because why the hell did he have a puppet skeleton waiting in a vat of acid, and how did he know the exact way he was gonna get killed off? It's just like, what?
Good night, Doctor. Good night, Annabelle. The crime you two planned was indeed perfect. Only the victim is alive and the murderers are not.
Eventually, he does reveal to everyone that, basically, yes, he's still alive, and his wife tried to murder him, and whatnot, and, basically, he's innocent. It then ends on this weird note.
There'll be more, many more. They're coming for me now. And then they'll come for you.
So, is the house haunted? That's honestly one of the great things I love about this movie. It's the fact that nothing is really truly answered, but you get a lot of suspicion throughout the whole movie that there might be some truth that the house is haunted, even though the culprit is not the house itself, but basically all these characters who are thrown into this whole big giant mess. Although most of the characters are really not that compelling and honestly not even really that interesting, it is kind of cool to follow them along trying to, in any manner of speaking, solve the mystery of this house. But obviously, the two shining stars in this movie are Vincent Price and Carol O'Mart. They are absolutely fantastic as their respective characters, and they just add so much dark humor and charm to this movie. I love almost every single line that these two have to utter to each other, and even to other characters, and it's really fun trying to follow them along, because we're trying to figure out who really is the culprit. Is it him? Is it her? Is the house haunted? There's a lot of things that we truly don't know until the end of the movie, and even at the end of the movie, there are still some questions left unanswered, but it's more in a mysterious manner, but it's not left in an unsatisfying way. House on Haunted Hill, although is not really a scary horror movie at all, I would have to say it is a very clever and honestly pretty dang interesting, almost maybe horror, spooky-esque, whodunit kind of movie.
Then your party will really begin. I wonder how it'll end.
And that's basically the movie. Oh, yeah, I was supposed to give you something, wasn't I? Well... Well, now that that's all done. So, thank you so much for joining us for this review of House on Haunted Hill. And next week, we are going to be reviewing the remake. Oh joy. But anyways, this has been the Valley of Death, where everything is spooky, but we keep things light. remakes are made of these. Who am I to discover it? Travel the theater, got seat number 3. I just wanted something spooky. Some remakes want to screw you. Some remakes waste $1 too. Some remakes don't respect you. And I'm sick of getting abused. I'm literally speechless. Just how can you screw something as simple as House on Haunted Hill up? The remake of House on Haunted Hill came out in 1999. It was distributed by Warner Brothers and directed by William Malone. That's okay, nobody knows who he is either. The movie also starred Geoffrey Rush and Famke Jensen, Jean Grey from X-Men. Out of all the movies that you could remake, House on Haunted Hill is honestly one that I just don't really understand. Don't get me wrong, I consider it a classic and honestly a really great addition to the haunted house genre, but who was clamoring for a House on Haunted Hill remake? I mean, don't get me wrong, there are people who do want remakes of certain movies, but I never really pictured House on Haunted Hill as one of those movies. It did incredibly poor at the box office, and on top of that, well, nobody liked it. So, I guess it's time to look at the remake of The House on Haunted Hill. Cutting right down to the chase, the movie begins with an insane asylum. Already, this is actually one of the really big differences, because in the original movie, the house wasn't an insane asylum or a hospital or anything like that. It was just a normal house that lots of different people wound up living in it and then apparently just went mad and killed people. Think of it almost like the hotel in The Shining, where people stayed in that hotel and then, a lot of bad things happened. It's very similar to that degree. But for some odd reason, they decided to change it to an insane asylum, which honestly is probably the most cliche thing you could do for, well, any kind of a haunted house, haunted hospital, anything. Just make it an insane asylum. And of course, the doctors are the stereotypical just bad, mad scientist people because, well, they're doing this horrific stuff to the inmates. Yeah, where did you get your doctorate exactly? The inmates wind up rioting and kill everybody in the hospital, and the whole place winds up shutting down. Cut to present day theme parks! We are then introduced to the two main characters of the movie, who, in the original, were played by Vincent Price and Carol Amart, are now Geoffrey Rush and Jean Grey, that's what I'm going to call her, whose names are now Stephen and Evelyn Price.
What is it, Mr. Price? Business or pleasure?
I mean, cute that it's an homage to, the great Vincent Price, but yeah, it's kind of dumb. And credit where credit is due, but they did find a really good physical look-alike with Geoffrey Rush. I mean, he does look a lot like Vincent Price, at least to a degree. Acting-wise, though, that's a completely different story.
Sure is a funky old house, ain't it?
I don't know how you managed to hack into my computer, but bravo.
Let's go back down and greet your guests. Show them the real you. Corny as Kansas on the 4th of July.
I'm Stephen goddamn Price! Not me, Tulip. The house. I think it's marked you to be the first to die this evening.
I'm going to go ahead and start things off with the acting. Now, the acting in this movie is just completely terrible. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say that the acting in the original House on Haunted Hill was absolutely fantastic by any means necessary, but there was at least an air of quality to all the actors in it, especially Vincent Price and Carol O'Mart. They did a fantastic job playing the feuding couple who are definitely scheming and conniving against each other because they want to kill each other. And in the original, although they were incredibly mean-spirited people who are always jabbing each other, you kind of liked them because, well, they were classy. They had an air of just like, wow, you guys are terrible, but hey, at least you're kind of funny. In this movie, these two people are basically just assholes. All you need to do is just take one good look and see that there is a complete difference between Geoffrey Rush and Vincent Price.
I had a reason for inviting each guest. I wanted kind of a cross-section, from psychiatrist to typist, and from drunk to jet pilot. They share one thing. They all need money.
Shredded. Sorry. Decided to whip up one of my own. A group so hungry for money they'd be willing to do anything. I thought you'd be more comfortable with your peers. Not quite. See those people down there? They're not the ones I invited.
Yeah, then who are they?
You tell me.
I mean, Geoffrey Rush is honestly a pretty good actor, so I don't really understand why he's putting in a crappy performance in this movie. I mean, who can forget his honestly magnificent performance in Gods of Egypt? I'm so sorry, I can't say that seriously.
From here on, it gets really scary.
The scariest thing about this movie is the critic rating. Stephen Price is a theme park owner, where the theme park is more so centered around spooky elements and stuff like that, and sometimes really intense thrill rides. Evelyn then requests Stephen to book the House on Haunted Hill for her party, which is very similar to the original one. Here's where things start drifting away a little bit. Stephen has a list from his wife of all the people that she wants to come to the party, but then he shreds the list, makes up his own list, and then... Do you remember in my original review where I said you didn't necessarily know if the house was haunted or not? Well, there was some evidence to prove that it could be haunted, especially with all the craziness that was happening in there, but you never truly knew if it was, the house was actually haunted or if it was the mad mastery or puppetry from Vincent Price's character in the movie. In this one, well, the house is haunted. It literally shows the computer turning back on after Stephen turns it off, where then it erases his list and writes its own list. Well, there goes that suspense. And as it is with all 90s and early 2000s horror movies, we get an edgy rock song. In this case, it is Sweet Dreams by Marilyn Manson. I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get copyright flagged. However, another nice little homage to the original movie is they do have all the guests coming in hearses, just like in the original. Which, if that's something I gotta say about this movie, I do like a lot of the homages and head nods to the original movie. There's a lot of references, at least in the beginning part of the movie, to the original. Now, none of the characters in this movie, except for one, are identical to any of the characters from the original movie, except for technically Evelyn and Stephen. The one actual returning character is Watson Pritchard, who, if you can recall from the original movie, greeted us with his floating head. And this one, well, he's really not that memorable in any way whatsoever. And basically, here are the rest of the similarities. He says, hey, welcome to my wife's party. If you guys stay here, I'll give you a lot of money. The house gets locked down. And yeah, that's basically it. Now, obviously, one of the big differences is Stephen, did make his own list, but then the house intercepted and made its own guest list. Whereas in the original, Vincent Price, he orchestrated the whole thing. So now he and his wife have no idea who any of these people are, except for Watson Pritchard. Now, what originally could have been something that was actually a little bit clever, where both Stephen and Evelyn had no idea who these people were, is thrown out the window because we already know the house is bloody haunted! And then this is basically the last comparison that we have between the original and the new movie. Watson Pritchard then brings everyone on a tour of the whole house, basically shows everybody, this is where this person died, this is what this invention was used for with the inmates, and blah blah blah. So that was actually a little bit similar. Obviously, the difference is, this was an insane asylum and not, just a normal house.
This is the saturation chamber. What's the saturation check?
Hispanic is treatment for schizophrenia. What would drive a sane man mad would drive a madman sane. Something, I don't know, whatever. Electroshock therapy. There's several of these rooms put together. Dr. Bannock would like to zap his patients in multiples of 18.
I would also argue that the whole aspect that this house is now an insane asylum, one, who puts a house on an insane asylum? Two, basically all the creep and scare factor is gone because, well, it's kind of your cliche, stereotypical, like, madhouse stuff. When it came to the original House on Haunted Hill, that was just a normal house. In this movie, it's obviously an insane asylum, so it's like, yeah, you're going to expect it to be, well, creepy. Honestly, before we get to any more of the action, it's honestly kind of boring. There's a lot of going back and forth, kind of trying to figure out what exactly is going on in the house, the mystery behind the house and whatnot. It is a little bit interesting, and they do try doing that a little bit, just like in the original. But the thing is that we already know about the house. We saw it at the very beginning. It was an insane asylum. The doctor was crazy. And the inmates eventually turned against, well, the doctors. So it's like we already know the story. So there's not really much in figuring out any mysteries behind this house. Unlike in the original, where, well, we didn't know anything about the house. So it was actually very interesting exploring the house, getting to know where a lot of the murders happened, how they happened, and a bunch of other stuff. In this movie, it's just like, okay, well, we already saw it. One thing that is a little bit different is Stephen Price basically has a man behind the curtain who is trying to make sure that, all the stuff in the house is, running properly. And that everything that he planned to be a scare is also running properly. Like the dog from Silent Hill 2. It was him all along. Nah, that would have been a really great twist for this movie. After taking a tour, some of the people start wandering off, where one of the characters who wants to aspire to be a film director or, well, something, I don't know what she really wants, wanders off on her own and then, well, gets killed. I bet that's how the audience looks at me whenever I make a bad joke. So she gets dragged off, and then of course everyone starts to worry that she's missing. So a tiny little search party goes out to look for her, and all they can find is her camera. Which of course doesn't show any of the spooky stuff, it just shows her, well, getting mauled. Kind of, I guess. Of course, Evelyn assumes that this whole thing is just a trick to scare everybody, but even Steven has no idea what's going on, and he assumes that Evelyn is doing this whole thing. Once again, would have been clever if we didn't know the house was haunted. People get separated again, and eventually, Evelyn gets killed! Or does she? Of course she didn't. This is an unoriginal remake. Everyone starts to assume that Steven is behind his wife's death, especially because of all the feuding going on between the two. Well, I wouldn't blame them necessarily. And they lock him up in a schizophrenic machine. Good old Steven definitely goes a little bit crazy, where, just like in the original, the one doctor character is the only person who shows up that was actually intentional in coming because he was having a relationship with Evelyn. However, psych, she's just a psycho and doesn't actually love anybody. Once again, going back to the original, you were always wondering, okay, who was actually the bad guy here? Of course, Vincent Price set up the whole thing, but you didn't know that his wife was maybe behind some of the things with this party just to go ahead and get him killed off, which of course she was orchestrating all along. But of course, in the long run, Vincent Price was also orchestrating his own maniacal plan in killing her. And yes, in this movie, they still have that aspect of the husband and wife playing each other. And yes, the wife does want to kill her husband, but it doesn't really go anywhere. Just like in the original, Steven does eventually get shot by one of the guests, where Evelyn then goes over to the body and then is like, oh, well, thank God he's dead. But psych, because it's an unoriginal remake.
Is that fact, princess?
Steven goes a little bit crazy, throws her through a wall, and... Okay, I will admit, the way that the ghost is in this movie it's a little bit creepy. That's really the only compliment this movie's getting from me. Something about it being just this huge giant amalgamation of all the spirits who were in this house. It is a little bit unnerving and actually is kind of very similar to the whole aspect of Legion from the Bible. But it's still not good. At this point, everyone's now just trying to get out of the house. Watson Pritchard gets killed. Stephen Price winds up meeting with two of the characters who they find out apparently they were related to some of the medical staff at the hospital. Yeah, that's just a plot point that's just thrown in there, and that's why they were invited. It's dumb. They all try escaping when they do figure out that there is at least one possible way where they could exit the house. Eventually, Stephen Price, who does try to do at least one honorable thing to a certain degree, eventually gets killed. They find a way to get out where the girl makes it out. However, the guy has to stay behind and deal with his demons. However, Pritchard's a good ghost. Okay, so we got a good spirit who was able to get them out. What are the rules of this movie? Our two heroes sit on the roof of the building where, of course, they wind up getting all of the money and then give a nice good old chuckle, as if nothing horrific happened in this movie.
That was one kick-ass party.
Okay, one more thing. How do we get down from here?
It's so hilarious. A bunch of people just died. Isn't it funny? This movie is one of the biggest pieces of crap when it comes to horror remakes. It is uninspired, unimaginative, and when it comes to this movie taking concepts from the original movie, it turns it completely upside down in a completely just unimaginative way. It takes away the whole mystery of the house and why it drove people insane by just explaining, oh, it's just because it was a creepy insane asylum with evil people. And then on top of that, adding just a bunch of characters who you really just don't give a darn about. You honestly wish that they would all die because they're all jerks. In the original movie, everybody was likable. Even Vincent Price and Carol O'Mart were completely likable. Even in their incredibly jerkish, mean-spirited manner, you did like them because at least they were witty, classy, and just overall just more positive than these two characters. I assure you that basically by the ending of this viewing, this is a haunted house I never want to revisit ever again. Yeah, I just don't get it. Like, how could you screw up House on Haunted Hill? I mean, there are so many bad horror remakes. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a few good ones, but like with House on Haunted Hill, like how could you screw it up? I mean, it's so simple in its execution. Like how? I just don't get it, but whatever. Hey, at least I'm done and I don't have to watch this movie ever again. And I mean, it's not like they made a sequel or anything, right? Right? Why is there a return to House on Haunted Hill? This has been the Valley of Death, where everything is spooky, but we keep things light. Hello and welcome to the Valley of Death, where everything is spooky, but we keep things light. Who the hell was asking for a sequel to the remake of A House on Haunted Hill? Return to House on Haunted Hill came out in 2007. That's right, 8 years after the remake of House on Haunted Hill. Who was asking for a sequel 8 years later? The movie was direct to DVD and didn't go to theaters because who else actually really wanted this to go to theaters? And was directed by Victor Garcia, who directed other such great horror movies such as Hellraiser Revelations. Now I'm sure you're all excited to see what surprises await us when we return to the House on Haunted Hill. Let's get this started, shall we? We start off with the credits, which basically gives us a reintroduction to the first movie, where it basically just shows all of the inmates going mad and attacking the doctor. One thing I will say about these opening credits is they're honestly very ugly. They're almost seizure-inducing, and they have that weird, like, skip, zoom, flashy effect that a lot of horror directors thought that this was incredibly edgy and a really cool thing to introduce into movies. Horror movies weren't just doing it, a lot of action movies were also doing this, and this is, well, it's just stupid. At least the first movie had stop-motion effects. That was actually really cool. Please don't make me give any positive feedback to the first movie. Cut to present day, and we start with an empty room with sad music. Really? That's what we're starting off with? I mean, yeah, we had the credits, which had, all the stuff, going on in the asylum, but that was from the first movie. This is the new movie. You want to introduce something at least a little bit, exciting. With the original movie, we had screams coming from the background and floating heads, and as much as I don't really like it, at least in the first movie, we had the introduction to showing the mad doctor and all the inmates going nuts and literally just tearing everything down, only for the insane asylum to shut down. Now, it's an empty room with sad music with a girl getting out of a shower. It's so scary! This is Ariel Wolf, who is the sister to Sarah Wolf, one of the survivors from the first movie, where she seems to be suffering from not calling my family back to show character development disease.
Ariel, this is Sarah. How many voicemails do I have to leave before you call me back? Damn it, I need to talk to you. Please, call me back.
It's very rare, but incredibly deadly. She is in charge of a magazine called XTD. Like STD?
Boss, I have a great idea for the name of our next magazine.
Well, go on, man. Let's hear it.
Obviously, it's gonna be like on pop culture and all stuff like that, but in reality, it's just gonna be absolute smut, especially with, all the sexy women all over the magazine cover. So, I thought the name of the magazine should be XTD.
STD?
No. XTD.
Why on earth would you want to give us a name for a magazine that's literally one letter off on the acronym Sexually Transmitted Disease?
Maybe alright, maybe I'll run with something else.
I don't know about you, man, but I don't want the people looking at the cover of our magazine and thinking, oh yes, if I were to ever meet this woman, I would get an STD from her.
I don't know, I just thought it would be a little bit edgy.
Diseases aren't edgy, man. Diseases are diseases.
I guess you ain't really like the idea of my other name then.
What is it?
Sex kills you.
You're fired! Now, I'm just gonna go ahead and dive right in with this. Ariel is not a likable character, and she's the main character. Say what you want about Barbossa and Jean Grey from the first movie, but they at least had a tiny bit of character to them, and at least were, well, likable's not really the right word, but at least they gave off an okay performance. With Ariel, you just hate her freaking guts, and she's boring. Not only does she not call family back when they need help, but she also stereotypes that all photographers are gay.
If you ask me, I think he's looking for an excuse to see you.
I thought all photographers were gay.
Oh, for a gay guy, sure likes to stare at your ass.
Was that ever even a thing? Yay, more unlikable characters!
Having fun?
It's a tough job, but someone's got to do it.
Oh, excellent. We're getting really close to having your whole cast as jerks quota. This is really good.
Does this rap ever work with women?
It's not a rap if it's true.
Right.
What was the point of this scene? I mean, I guess you could argue it was to introduce him, but... No, seriously, what was the point of that scene? We cut to a college campus where a professor is giving a talk on a cult that took place during the Spanish Inquisition. How the church basically made it go underground because of all of its, well, heresies and other really bad stuff. And basically, they had an idol that went missing during this time period.
And after that shameless plug, I thank you.
Now, I wonder if this character is going to be likable. Oh good, he's already bonking a student! However, the hanky-panky had to stop because he receives news on Sarah Wolf. Ariel also gets a phone call from her mother receiving news about her sister.
Mom? Mom, what's wrong?
The neighbors found her early this morning. The cops say she shot herself.
Oh gee, if only you were far more caring and you weren't a complete jerk and you actually looked into the mental health of your sister after such a traumatic event. If only! Ariel goes to investigate her sister's apartment, where, yay, something spooky actually happens!
What is it? Are you okay? What's wrong?
The professor shows up, also known as Dr. Richard Hammer. The good doctor knows Ariel's sister because somehow she was able to get a journal, which the crazy doctor who owned the house on Haunted Hill basically had a journal. Where did she get this journal? It wasn't even in the first movie, which gives clues to the location of the idol he's been looking for.
According to Dr. Vannicutt's journal, the statue is here in Los Angeles inside the Hill House. Sarah thought she was being followed.
What the hell are you talking about?
The idol is worth millions to the right collector.
Okay, well, we've just had way too much plot just dropped on us within the first 10 minutes. I mean, we have a creepy idol, we have the house on Haunted Hill, we have a botched family relationship because of the house on Haunted Hill, we have a weird cult, and we have now some other group who's interested in getting the idol because, well, money reasons, and this is just a lot to really take in.
It's just a lot of pressure.
Ariel goes back and sees that her sister mailed her the journal when she is attacked by mercenaries. Turned out, they killed her sister and they are after the idol.
You're after the Baphomet statue.
Bingo. Give that girl a prize.
Hammer and his crew go to the house first so they can find the idol, where of course the merc, named Desmond, makes it to the house where we find out that he used to be Hammer's student. What a twist!
Who's your buyer?
A gentleman never kisses and tells.
This statue belongs in a museum, not in the hands of some private collector.
That belongs in a museum!
We also find out that Hammer's bonking partner likes to bonk other people as well. Why am I not
surprised?
Hey! That's my job. Ariel warns them that Vannicutt, the mad scientist, put in a mechanism that locks down the whole house, which is what happened in the first movie.
That's how Price's guests got trapped in the first place. If this place goes into lockdown, we'll be trapped.
That's why our first stop's gonna be the master control room. Let the tour begin.
So the group goes to look for it to turn it off. Why the hell didn't you just turn it off? Turns out the idol might be in the basement, so they all split up to cover more ground.
You know, try to cover as much ground as possible.
Whoa, time out. You're not seriously suggesting that we all split up in a haunted house?
See, I kind of like this guy. He's at least a little bit smart. Speaking of this guy, he's really the only likable character in this entire movie.
You were like UFC heavyweight champ, dude! Just so you know, you fight like a girl. Like a lady.
Whatever.
Oh great, the nurse is from Silent Hill. Oh great, that's 2 references I made to Silent Hill in these 2 reviews. Now, instead of seeing more rooms that weren't explored in the first movie, which I think would actually be, well, at least a tad bit cool to see, you know, more stuff in this house, instead, we get more forced character development. Now, the reason none of this works is because they are adding so much drama to the characters that we know absolutely nothing about. Take this scene, for example. They're talking about their history together, even though the only thing we have seen them do is have sex!
What's going on between the two of you?
Does it really matter?
I can't believe you're doing this.
You'll get over it.
I loved you, Michelle.
The only thing you love, Richard, is you.
One of the mercs thinks that he may have found the idol when we get our first kill.
Can you read me? I think I got it.
By the way, every time we meet one of these ghosts, we always get a flashback to who they were and how they were killed. Why do I care? We then cut to another stupid merc who clearly lets all of her hormones do all the talking.
Stay right where you are.
Ah yes, I too would let my guard down on a very, very important mission in an insane asylum, no less, just so I could get bonked by 2 women. Who are from the insane asylum. Also, tell me what other horror movie this scene reminds you of. If you guessed The Shining, then you would be correct, my good sirs and misses. Because hey, if we can't come up with an original movie, might as well steal ideas from good ones, right? The Merc runs into the ghost of the Doctor when... Okay, you can't do something a Looney Tunes character would do and consider it scary. This is funny and improbable more than just, than scary. Like, what? Also, would you actually die from that? I mean, you'd be in pain, but, you wouldn't die, I think. Desmond hears the gunshots and things start going to hell. Okay, how come when she sees any of these visions, the ghosts don't go after her and try to kill her? I mean, yeah, they tied her up in a straitjacket, but why didn't they kill her? Mr. Wrestler Dude gets torn asunder when... Oh, okay, what kind of scream was that? And then the whole house gets locked down. Ariel escapes, however, the house now has her boyfriend, making her escape entirely pointless because she literally walks back inside! Also, this is something I totally forgot to mention, but Amanda Ragetti, who plays Ariel Wolf in this movie, was also the sister to Jared Padalecki's character in the Friday the 13th remake. I can't believe I'm saying this, but holy crap, she's a lot better in that movie than she is in this movie. Another Merc dies when everyone finally gets the bright idea to jump the bad guys. Wow, you finally did something smart! They discuss that there's possibly a way out through the sewer, because of course there is. When they realize that the idol could actually be in the crematorium.
I remember Vannicut mentioning in his journal that the Baphomet idol was guarded by the dead. I figured he was speaking metaphorically, but there's a crematorium in the basement.
Look, I don't give a damn about the idol. All I care about is getting out of here alive.
What about you, Richard? Is that all you care about? Are you really gonna let this opportunity pass you by?
Okay, going back to Dr. Hammer, other than one sentence at the beginning stating that this is his life's work, we don't see or care how much he actually, cares about this thing that he is willing to give up his life and risk the other's safety for. He has not shown 1 ounce of negative qualities to his character other than, just the weird random bonking at the beginning. But that's the thing, he actually seems like a very honorable character. We have not seen 1 ounce of proof that shows that his character is slimy and would literally throw all these people away just to get something. They make their way towards the exit when we find out this tiny important fact about the house.
Somehow this great man went from saving people to butchering them. Why?
Maybe he was nuts?
The church believed the statue possessed an evil influence over men.
Are you saying the statue corrupted Vannicut and his staff somehow?
Crazy, huh?
Wait a second. So you're telling me that the whole reason why everyone went crazy in this asylum was not because of the doctor literally driving everyone crazy, but it's because of the satanic idol that drove him crazy, that drove everyone else crazy. Why? You're telling me that the base of the series of everyone going crazy was because of an idol? This is freaking stupid! They find another weird machine when things start going wacky again.
Richard!
Desmond and Bong partner escape when Ariel dives in to save Kyle.
Harry!
Don't worry, she'll be fine. She's a mermaid, for crying out loud. Oh wait, wrong Ariel. What is the point of these flashbacks? Of course, the one character I kind of like dies. Desmond turns on bunk partner because we need more unnecessary tension when she runs into her room and gets crushed by a fridge. Okay, I'm really starting to think that this script was written by a Looney Tunes writer. Our heroes find the exit, but the house will still not let them leave unless they destroy the idol.
Destroy the statue. What is it? You okay?
We can't leave. I know how to make it stop. The spirits here, they want to be at peace, but the evil won't let them.
Oh, so that was the point of the useless flashbacks. But wait, why was none of this introduced in the first movie? Sarah and Eddie escaped through the attic, and the ghosts weren't trying to stop them to break a curse, they just wanted to kill them. This plot makes no damn sense in this context of a series! Okay, sure, the house wanted revenge on the descendants of the people who did escape. But then why aren't they killing Ariel, since she's the sister of the person they tried to kill in the last movie? And why are they just giving her the cutscenes to free all the souls all of a sudden? Why? We're back looking for the idol now when they find the one furnace that leads to it.
If we don't make it, I just want you to know that.
What? That, you make a lot of typos for the editor of your magazine.
This isn't the time for lovey-dovey jokes. They enter the heart of the house.
It seems to be organic. The heart of the house.
Oh my god! Why did they make it literal? Apparently, they can't actually destroy the darn thing, so they suggest just throwing it into the sewer.
The sewer tunnel. The statue is small enough to fit through the grate.
Well, the script is a piece of crap. Might as well treat the idol in the same way and flush it down the toilet. Dr. Ghost sees the idol has gone missing and gets some creepy stuff in motion, starting with the death of Desmond. You know this guy doesn't have the idol, right? And of course, Hammer just has to screw things up because that's what everyone else has been saying he's going to do, so of course he has to fulfill his character trait.
What are you doing?
I've been looking for this statue for 20 years. It belongs to me.
Vanicut, for some odd reason, basically pulls a
let them fight
from Godzilla towards the ghost. Hammer breaks free from the temptation of wanting the idol. Eventually, Vanicut is just done with it, kills Dr. Hammer, and Ariel drops the idol into the sewer, Thanosing all the ghosts. Oh yes, I love making out with you all covered in blood. And finally, we approach our ending where the sun is shining and everything is all back to normal.
Baphomet's evil has been trapped in that house for over 50 years. We set it free.
You're saying the house wanted us to succeed.
The house wanted you to succeed? The house wanted you to succeed? No, it didn't! It was a stupid cloud ghost from the first movie with a whole bunch of really crazy people. They just wanted revenge on the people who escaped from the building in the first place, and now it's all just, oh no, we want the people to come back so we can free the souls of all the people who are trapped in this stupid building. This is a stupid plot! This movie is so bad! I honestly can't believe that they somehow got a sequel to the remake of A House on Haunted Hill. Now, don't get me wrong, I really don't like the remake of A House on Haunted Hill, but at least it had some similarities to the original, and a very broken but okay haunted house plot that was very cliche. This not only does not have any originality to it, it just makes no darn sense in the context of the first movie.
On top of that, you don't like anybody in this movie. You literally want them all to die. Except for one. God rest him in peace, Kyle. Not to mention, if you watch the unrated Blu-ray edition of this movie, apparently there's like a choose your own adventure, choose your own camera angle settings to this movie that you can watch, so that way each experience when you watch the movie, it's a tad bit different. Well, who the hell would actually want to do that, because this movie is a piece of crap? And the movie just overall seems very choppy, broken, and the rules of these ghosts just don't make any sense. They just crapped this script out just so they could try to make a little bit more money off of, well, whoever was clamoring for a sequel to this stupid series. The original is a classic, and it is such an incredible, good movie that I can't believe they made a remake, which not only was not good, but for some odd reason they decided to make a sequel. And ladies and gentlemen, I never, ever, ever want to go back to the house on Haunted Hill. This has been the Valley of Death, where everything is spooky but we keep things light, and holy moly, nah!